Hello. Great to have you here. My name is Shauna. Today's reading is a general love forecast for November 2025. As always, take the messages that resonate and release anything that doesn't. Don't forget to like and subscribe to stay connected with upcoming readings. Let's see what's headed your way. So Pisces, welcome to your love, romance, and relationship reading. As I mentioned to all the other signs, I'm doing this in a different format, okay? And I want to narrow down all the different narratives and scenarios. Fewer cards, but it does help me focus a little bit better. So I feel as if, there's this phrase that's coming out. And it's like, rather than waiting for change, you want to be on the forefront of it, and you want to be the catalyst of change in your own life, okay? Rather than thinking like, when is that knight in shining armor going to come into the picture and make my life complete and make me thoroughly and exquisitely happy, I feel like you're going to have to kind of be the one to take the first step to initiate, be proactive, and go out into the world and seek that person, okay? As you have noticed in the past, a lot of the times, I feel like the ones that usually make a move, that come in for you, they're very exciting, very, sexually charged even. And it can be, it can feel almost like, you're caught up in a whirlwind in their energy, and you kind of lose yourself in the relationship. And then when that person leaves, you're very disoriented, and you have trouble finding your footing, finding your bearing again. And so we want to make a change. We want to, create a different path, or we want to break old cycles and old patterns. So it would be better, I feel, if, rather than waiting for them to come in and sweep you off your feet, you want to be the one on the forefront so that you can be in control of the selection process, so that you can find somebody who's a lot more suitable for you, okay? What I'm feeling here with these three cards, we have here the Ten of Cups. The Ten of Cups basically signifies emotional bliss. This is the apex of emotional happiness, and this is like the best that you can get, okay? In some way, it basically can denote a situation where there has been a lot of history, a lot of time spent with a person, and a lot of, I want to say, assets that are linked up, houses, I want to say like mutual friends, family members that know each other, having really good relations with, the in-laws. Your partner's in-laws really like you. You really like your partner's in-laws, and vice versa. And because of that, the whole process of extracting from this situation can be very, very messy. And I'm also sensing for many of you, you have somebody in your life right now. We have, once again, the fire sign. So this is a Sagittarius, an Aries, or a Leo. This is somebody who's very courageous. This is someone who's very passionate. And they might have a very difficult time seeing gray areas. They might have, very, very difficult time kind of like making sense of, for them, things are very binary. It's right or it's wrong. It's okay or it's not. They don't really take into account all these gray areas. And as a Piscean person, you live and thrive in the gray areas, in the in-between, in nuances. And so I feel like the energy that's opposing each other, you and the other person, can feel very, I want to say, it's exciting. There's a lot of attraction, but it can seem almost as if you have to defend yourself against this person, okay? So this is your energy here as the Page of Cups. It's called the Princess of Cups in this deck, but it's the Page of Cups. And the Page of Cups is a very young, sweet, lighthearted type of an energy. Somebody is bringing you a lot of passion and a lot of chemistry, and you feel like, a sense of puppy love for this person. And I'm also feeling as well, because their energy is a lot more mature than you are, if you get involved with this person, you can be swept up in the whirlwind of the relationship, and you're not really going to know. You might lose yourself in this relationship, okay? It's like that knight in shining armor coming in to swoop you away. It's exciting at first, but then you start to lose that sense of self. So you want to be a little bit careful. I feel like there's somebody that you're involved with, and they might already have a family as well. They might have their own family, you might have your own family, and there's this burgeoning, undeniable attraction between you and another person. And I'm also sensing like it's at a point right now where you might just be harmlessly, you think like you're just harmlessly flirting with each other, but I feel like it has ramifications, you know, further down the line, because this is a housing unit. This is something that is very intact. It is very stable. It is very harmonious. So if there is attraction, or, you know, there's like temptation outside the relationship, I feel like it's not going to lead to a happy end. So if you are thinking about, oh, it's just harmless, it's just fun, it's just exciting, don't get carried away. And especially, you know, don't delude yourself. Okay, I feel like it needs to be said. Okay, because once again, your energy is very young, very inexperienced, very naive, and I feel like this person knows exactly what they're doing. So if they have a family that they're tied to, they're not going to leave the stability for this young and new experience. They're going to stick with this opportunity. So then you might be the one that's kind of like cast out. Okay, so you want to be very careful where you're treading and who it is that you're devoting your time with, or who it is that you're, you know, conjuring this grand romance with, and you need to make sure that they are completely single. On the other hand, if you are completely single, I feel like you have your eyes on somebody here. This is a fire sign. And you're kind of like romanticizing this situation. They're not a bad person, but I feel like they might have a lot of, I'm sensing like sexual conquest. Okay, somebody that is after the thrill of the chase. Okay, so they might not stick around after they've already acquired the object of their desire. They might not stick around. And I feel like you're conjuring up this, you know, idyllic situation with this person. And I feel like it might not be the reality. So just be careful, okay, Pisces? 17. Okay, so we have some type of a stall communication here. The Eight of Wands. This is the arrows of love, and it usually denotes constant communication, texting somebody and getting, you know, their response like immediately. So it usually indicates very good rapport, very good chemistry, and this desire to communicate, to kind of like meld into one unit, like constant communication, usually electronic, and it also can denote travel. There is a little bit of a stall communication with this person, and I feel as if you have been putting your life on hold, not really budging, not really making a move, wanting this person to come back into the picture. And for whatever reason, you know, it might be for the past 8 weeks, things were very, very tenuous. And there is a breakdown when it comes to communication. And I feel like the advice coming in with this cluster is new beginnings cannot be had, reunification, reunion, coming back together, hashing things out, making a decision as a unit. I don't feel that that's going to be coming in here with the Judgment card in the reverse position. I'm also sensing if you are hoping to reconcile with another person, they say that, you know, it's going to be very, very slow in coming. So if you're keeping yourself stuck like this, just waiting for that, you're going to be waiting for a really long time. In the meantime, redirect your energy, focus on what you can do in the meantime to distract yourself. Focus on, you know, self-embetterment, not keeping yourself stuck, not keeping life stagnant, doing something to add value to your own life so that this situation doesn't need to be, you know, all consuming and keeping you stagnant, keeping you stuck, and not letting you move on. I'm also sensing for many of you, there's a lot of fears here, okay? The Eight of Swords, it's usually mental fears, fearing the exterior, fearing like, are people against me? Are they wishing me harm? Are there people gossiping about me? Are like, it's like fearing, feeling the tingles on your skin whenever you see random strangers laugh and you're just like, I wonder if they're laughing about me. Or, you know, feeling that sense of like not comfortable in your own skin and feeling a little bit paranoid or a little bit insecure or a little bit scared. And so My advice here overall is for singles, you're definitely not in a state where you're dating, okay? And I'm also sensing as well, if you're hoping for exes to come back in, this is not the month for you to do that. I don't feel that it's going to end up in your favor. And then at the same time, if there are family issues, if you've had like a massive blowout because of some family issues, you want to be very systematic about how you deal with this and try to soften the energy and not create further conflict, further tension, or to allow things to escalate. So that means if someone is taking a step back, they're removing themselves from this situation because of fear of gossip, fear of scandals. I feel like they're removing themselves for that reason, and they might come go for a while. I feel that if you can, find something that like I mentioned before, you are a very compassionate sign, helping people in whatever capacity. It really fills you up with, joy and contentment. And I've seen a lot of people thrive on, giving. And giving sometimes, giving things that you don't have. And then, or giving things to the wrong people. But I overall feel that, there is a need here to connect with a community, okay? Making connections on the social front, making connections where you can be of aid and assistance to people who are needy or who are in need of assistance. So that way you can connect with this wonderful community of people. And through that, love is going to be available for you, okay? However, if you're at this point and you're just like, when is love going to come in for me? When are people going to start, ringing me on the phone, texting me, and, declaring their love for me and start dating me? When are my options going to be laid out for me? Well, I feel that you need to make a move. You need to move yourself in the position or position yourself in the right place in order to be able to harness this energy, in order to connect with people. So if you're, just going to work and then going home and nothing in between, you need to deviate from that schedule. You need to deviate from those timelines, and you need to connect with more people so that you have more opportunities overall. Okay. It's just the overall, like, your energy is so contained that you need to branch out a little bit for those who are single and looking, okay? But I feel like newly single people, emotionally and mentally, you're not in the right space or frame of mind to date just yet. You have a lot of fire signs coming into the picture here. Okay. So I have here the Temperance card. The Temperance card is basically moderation, okay? Anything that we do, anything that we engage in, anything that we ingest, chemically or otherwise, everything has a perfect balance, and you don't want to disrupt that, equilibrium. So this is basically doing things in moderation, not over drinking, not overindulging, not overcompensating for things that you're lacking, or even, looking at overspending in order to buy that sense of satisfaction or that sense of love or that sense of contentment. So I feel like there has been a lot of money squander in these arenas, and I feel like it's not really serving you. And at the same time, there is somebody in your life here. We have the Queen of Wands, fire sign once again, Sagittarius, Aries, or Leo. In some instances, this can be, somebody that you have children with. Okay, this is a person that is very strong, very resolute, very, very ethical. I feel like they look at you. They look at you, straight in the face, and you kind of waver in their presence because you feel as if you're not as strong. You feel a little bit intimidated, and you feel very emotionally destabilized when you're in their presence. There has been some deception, and there has been some, I want to say as well, a lot of deception, a lot of unknowns, a lot of things coming to light, okay? this person, and they're going to want the truth. They're going to want answers. They're going to want you to kind of step up and explain to them the progression of things. And I feel like it's a very, very difficult conversation, and it can borderline confrontational. The moon is your card, Pisces, and it basically represents things that are kind of that we feel that we kind of know, but we don't really have actual proof. And so there is going to be communication from you and this fire sign. And I also feel for many of you dealing with a Sagittarius as well. And the Sagittarius, for some reason, he or she, the Sagittarius, I feel like the relationship created a lot of dependencies, possibly financial dependencies if you're dealing with a Sagittarius. And there's still some entanglement, financial entanglements coming into the picture. I'm seeing like 3 people, so possibly children as well. And I feel that you both are trying your best to make the transition very smooth for the children, but it's very difficult. It's a very difficult process. There will be uncomfortable discussions. There will be uncomfortable confrontations where you have to see this person face to face, and your resolve is going to waver. Okay. Get yourself very, very grounded, because I feel like this is a very no-nonsense type of energy. They're going through their own emotional turmoil too. So rest assured that they're feeling as destabilized as you are, but they are putting on a very, very brave face. Okay. I'm seeing like, saving face, saving face. It could be their demeanor that they're projecting. It might not reflect their true emotions, but I do feel you're dealing with someone who's a little bit steely and who's a little bit intimidating. So what do you have in terms of advice for Piscean people? First of all, this is a card about social dating, okay? Getting out, having fun, making connections with people, making meaningful connections, not just superficial, shallow connections. This is like having somebody that you can actually have really good conversation with that actually, goes into the night. So the card about social dating, this is coming up in the upright position. So they're really encouraging for some of you who have been single for some time and you're ready and you're looking. I do feel that you're going to be breaking out of your shell a little bit, getting invited out to social functions. And I do feel that, it's kind of like a good way for you to re-enter the social scene or the dating environment. If you've been keeping yourself very sequestered, I feel that you're going to meet them through these avenues. When I mentioned before about, doing community service or serving those that are in need, I feel like you're creating very good energies where you are connecting with like-minded people. And in the process, you're going to attract somebody just as like-minded. And then for others of you, in terms of the advice for you, we have the High Priestess. And the High Priestess basically indicates listening to our intuition, being able to figure out overall, this doesn't feel right, so it must not be right, rather than really going against your judgment and testing things out and then ending up, getting burned. So I feel that for some of you, if we have legal contracts and we have, multiple parties involved, you want to be very clear, and you also might want to extract yourself. If you're in a situation where you already know 3 parties are involved, for example, if you're dating somebody, when I mentioned earlier, somebody that might already have a family and there's harmless flirtation, I don't feel that it's going to end there. I don't feel that it's going to stay harmless or platonic. I feel that the other person might be after the conquest. They might not give up. So you want to be very sure that, I know where my morals lie. I know about, actions and consequences. I'm going to be smart about this, and I'm going to try to remove myself from this situation so that I can find somebody who's single, rather than dabbling with somebody who might have a family or who might already be in another relationship. So I feel like somebody is kind of feeding you, false information. They might say like, oh yeah, we already broke up 3 months ago, and they might still be talking to that person. Or they're just like, oh yeah, I'm separated, we're living in different households, and they're like, in fact, still married. So I want you to just be very, very careful, okay? Approach things with caution and with wisdom, because, you know, Pisces, you are so, so, so psychic, okay? And I feel like a lot of the times, you know, you do see the best in people, like Capricorns. You do see the best in people. You do give people the benefit of the doubt. And unless you see them, you know, like, God forbid, torturing, you know, animals and things like that, that's when you're just like, okay, they're a bad person. But aside